A true transitive verb is an incomplete verb which requires a complement to make sense. I am sending. J'envoie. This house belongs. Cette maison appartient. I am sending an email. J'envoie un email. This house belongs to my parents. Cette maison appartient à mes parents. This complement is essential and is called an object complement. Conversely, the meaning of a true intransitive verb is already complete. I am sleeping. Je dors. As such, it does not need any object complement to make sense, nor could it take one, because its action has already been performed. A nap, une sieste, she is interested. Elle s'intéresse. She depends. Elle dépend. A transitive verb or verbal phrase must have a complement to complete its action. A transitive verb or verbal phrase is indirect when it requires a preposition, which can only be a or de, to connect to its object complement. She is interested in music. Elle s'intéresse à la musique. She depends on her phone. Elle dépend de son téléphone. This object complement is called an indirect object complement. A transitive verb is direct when it connects directly, without any prepositions, to its object complement, which is then called a direct object complement. I welcome my guests. J'accueille mes invités. I respect my opponent. Je respecte mon adversaire. A D-transitive verb, which can also be called a B-transitive verb, is just another name for a transitive verb with two distinct object complements. He is writing a letter to his wife. Il écrit une lettre à sa femme. The second object complement of a D-transitive verb is always an indirect object complement. These object complements are most often a direct object complement followed by an indirect object complement. She has received a letter from her husband. Elle a reçu une lettre de son mari. But they can also be two distinct indirect object complements. He is talking about his book to his followers.
That is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor.
Il parle de son livre à ses fans.
Floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore, quoth the raven.
Careful, the equivalent of an indirect object complement in English. I am waiting for the bus. I am listening to my colleague. Could well be a direct object complement in French. I am waiting for the bus. J'attends le bus. I am listening to my colleague. J'écoute ma collègue. Conversely, the equivalent of a direct object complement in English, they are changing shoes. I am phoning a friend could well be an indirect object complement in French. They are changing shoes. Elle change de chaussures. I am phoning a friend. Je téléphone à un ami. While some verbs can only be transitive or intransitive, there are also many verbs which can be used both ways. Some of these hybrid verbs can change meanings as they shift from being used transitively to being used intransitively. He is passing the ball to his teammate. Il passe le ballon à son coéquipier. The train is passing. Le train passe. The object complements of certain transitive verbs can be left out and still remain implied. I am reading a novel. Je lis un roman. Once the verb has no visible object, but still makes sense on its own, it can only be described as being used intransitively, regardless of its implied object complement. I am reading. Je lis. She is smiling at her friend. Elle sourit à son ami. She is smiling. Elle sourit. Not every verb used intransitively has an implied object complement. Although their usage can shift, their meaning does not always change. When a verb is being used transitively, the main object is the object complement, because it receives the action of the verb. She's smiling at her friend. Elle sourit à son ami. And when the verb is being used intransitively, the main actor is the subject, because it performs the action of the verb. She is smiling. Elle sourit. I am going up the stairs. Je monte l'escalier. Some verbs can be used transitively or intransitively and still mean the same. I am going up. Je monte. Others are restricted to a specific usage if they are to retain their intended meaning. I am taking my things up. Je monte mes affaires. I am taking my things up. Je monte mes affaires. Note also that in English, the verb monter is translated by two distinct verbs with a different usage each. Note also that a single verb used intransitively and transitively in English. I know the answer. Might translate in French by two distinct verbs with a different usage each. I know. Je sais. I know the answer. Je connais la réponse. A single verb can also be used intransitively. He does not know how to speak yet. Il ne sait pas encore parler. Or transitively with a direct object complement. They speak the same language. Ils parlent la même langue. A single verb used transitively can take either of the indirect object complements. She is talking to her employees.
Those who witnessed or better have participated in the development of the interactive
Elle parle à ses employés.
understanding of the way that cultural narratives are developed.
He talks about himself.
And lots of times you need to give people more than one link at a time.
Il parle de lui-même.